In order to be able to scale anything, you have to be in front of more people. That's how you scale. This is why I'm so obsessed with growing followers. I'm not obsessed with growing followers for vanity. It's not about that. It's just about prospecting as a business. I have 100,000 followers. You have 100. I will make more money than you because I am prospecting. Okay, assuming that we're doing the same business strategy, I have more prospects than you do, which means I have the opportunity to make more money. The first thing that I thought you'd probably be interested in is running membership, because memberships are a joy and a burden. And I think they're very, very attractive because you can, they have this sort of tag of like, oh, it's recurring income. Oh, it's zero effort recurring income. Just run a membership and you get paid every single month. And isn't it great? And, you get all this predictability in your business and, who doesn't love recurring income? And you're right, you do get recurring income from a membership. It's definitely not less effort than making that money separately. But it can create some good opportunities to bring in the right buyers in your business. So I thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit about memberships, if you're up for it.
I'm up for it. I love it. I feel like memberships is probably, in my mind, the product of 2023. I think everyone right now is sort of, like memberships up, memberships down. And I think like I believe in them a lot. I see a huge potential. So I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah, memberships are very attractive as a product because you get this sense of recurring income, number one, that I think most people are like. They're often billeted as you don't have to be chasing around sales all the time and you can grow your membership and get recurring income. And isn't it, let's go sip Mai Tais knowing that all of my members are going to be paying me every single month. And the reality is they take way, way more effort than that. The effort that you do invest in memberships could well be leveraged into just selling one-off products and not having the hassle. And of course, they add a lot of complexity in terms of dealing with people and subscriptions and expectations and this constant need for value add in how you do it. That being said, they can be, a lot of fun and really offer you something different. But I do think it's worth busting some myths about memberships because, a lot of people get into them and you will have seen it yourself. I've seen more memberships die than I have be created. And most people drop them. And the reason, and it's a real reason, and the reason is because they don't appreciate just how much work they are and also how difficult they are to scale.
The Code Tribe podcast is powered by Pensight. I want to take this opportunity to tell you more about Pensight and how much value it can provide you and your coaching business.
Pensight is an all-in-one platform for coaches and educators that enables you to quickly and easily build a highly credible page and sell your knowledge with one-to-one sessions, group coaching, courses, Q&As, digital products, and bundles. Payments, scheduling, video calling, client communications, and everything else is taken care of.
All it takes is 5 minutes to set up, and it's free. It's the smartest way to kickstart your coaching business. Sign up to Pensight today at pensight.com.
So, we're in a difficult time right now. We're in a cost of living crisis. We're in an energy crisis. We've got the war of Ukraine going on. We've got recessions in most countries. The last thing people want is another subscription. How many of you right now are going around looking for subscriptions to cancel? And it's the whole death by 1,000 cuts problem. It's like, well, none of these subscriptions are particularly expensive, but they just eat and eat away at your disposable income. You've got Netflix and Disney, and then you've got Prime, and then you've got, all of the tools that you use. And if you look at virality right now, assuming you're in the marketing space and talk about virality, the virality is in free stuff. How to get free products, free stuff. People do not want to be spending money on stuff. So right now, it is a difficult environment to be scaling memberships. A very, very challenging environment to be scaling memberships. And what you often see a lot of people do coming into a membership is they actually come into a membership and they immediately cancel the subscription until proven otherwise. So they buy a month, cancel the subscription because they don't want it to trip them up the following month. And then they end up going, well, I've already cancelled it, so they leave, even if they don't like it. So retention in memberships is getting harder and harder because of the cost of living crisis as well. So it's getting more and more difficult to scale memberships out. And of course, that then means because the retention is lower and fewer people want to be paying a monthly subscription, it becomes more expensive to acquire customers and members, both from an ads perspective and, of course, from an effort perspective. So what tends to happen with big memberships is there's only really two ways to scale a membership to any kind of a decent size. The first one is to have a lot of organic growth on your account, like a significant amount of organic growth. And the second one is to run ads. Ads being very, very difficult to run memberships for. It's very difficult to bring on new members in ads. It's for subscription products. It's very expensive as well, which means that your retention has to be a lot higher. So let's talk about some fundamentals of, firstly, what a membership should be, how to make them, and then how to make them profitable. Because I do think a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to make a membership and I'm just going to base it around, a bunch of people that like me. And then you're like, well, what's in it for them? And they just want to be closer to me. Okay. So they tend to make a membership and they get, 10, 20 people around and, oh, yay, I've got 10, 20 people here. That's cool. But they can't scale it any further because they don't actually have a reason for that membership to exist other than people like me. And the problem with that, even though you can make some money out of it, the problem with it is because you've built your membership around people liking you, what you end up doing is you end up giving them all of your time and all of your energy. And actually what happens is you offer them way, way too much value compared to their investment. Way too much. And I was guilty of that when I first started Social Boom, which is our membership. In the early days, because I was super keen, essentially I was doing group coaching. And these guys were paying me, $17 a month or something in the early bird stages. And essentially they were getting weekly coaching for almost nothing at all. Because of course you want to pour your heart into your members and you want to help your members and do as much as you can for your members. And that's great. And we want to be altruistic. But, it quickly hit this point of like, well, we can't, this won't scale. This is just me doing group coaching and getting paid nothing for it. And of course, for the amount of time that I was investing in those people, whether it be weekly calls, but also, creating more and more content and building out course materials inside the membership and so on and so on, I could have just sold one-to-one client and made more money, a lot more money in that duration. So it's hard to start with memberships, but obviously the first thing, and something that we always talk about, is outcomes. Your membership has to have an outcome, it has to have a specific result. What is the specific result that your members are designed to get from that membership? Some memberships might be based around networking. Meet a bunch of high-end people all doing things, and it's knowledge sharing, and that's kind of the result. Although it's a bit of a lame result, if you ask me, but it's kind of a result. Another one would be more of a linear course. So essentially for most people memberships are essentially you buy a course in installments. So I get access to your course. So you make kind of a flagship course and then they get access to it. And then they work through the course in a linear fashion, and that's how they get the results. So essentially, most memberships are kind of course orientated. And I do think the ones that work better from a student result perspective and from a retention perspective tend to be the ones that have brought people in for a specific reason and then offer them a single linear solution to get to their result. We made the mistake, and we're still making the mistake, to be fair. Something that I always wanted to do was build a sort of one-size-fits-all social boom portal that basically teaches you everything you need to know about social no matter what you want to do. A little bit like Mind Valley. If you're familiar with Mind Valley, they have a membership, and it's all about helping, meditation and yoga and fitness and a lot of woo-woo stuff. But they do a good job, and it's a huge, huge membership. I mean, it's 100,000 people or something in there. I mean, they're making millions upon millions of dollars every month with this thing. But what I realized is if you do a library membership, which is get access to a shit ton of stuff, then what you really need to be piggybacking on other people's audiences in order to be able to scale that out. Because the problem is people come into the library and there's just too much going on. Whereas, if I look back, and this is something that we're working on now, if I look back, I think the best membership that any person can start with is just a single course, a linear course to a specific result, and then you think of your members as basically paying installments on this course. That's it. And then that way they all have a consistent structure. They're all doing the same thing. All the questions are congruent within the course itself. Whenever you do live Q&As or masterclasses within the membership, they're all going to be asking about a specific thing and everyone's kind of working towards the same place. Whereas if you do more of a library membership of here's a ton of different things, it becomes very difficult to create any kind of congruency with your members. A lot of members get overwhelmed when they come in and they say, well, there's too much going on and I don't know where to start. And in the early days, when it costs so much time and effort in order to be able to get your membership up to a decent level, that can become incredibly tiring, fatiguing, draining for you to be able to constantly be fighting against the inevitable low retention rates that you'll get because of the complexity within your membership. And that's a big, not necessarily mistake that we made, because I still have that vision of building more of an all-encompassing social media marketing learning platform. So it's not so much of a mistake, but if I could go back a couple of years, I would have started smaller in order to be able to build some traction, with the focus being on specifically on, retention, because retention is the most important thing in your membership, much more important than acquisition. Because if your members don't stick around, then you're going to have to constantly be working your ass off to get new members in. And then even when you do, they leave. So there's something that's called LTV in memberships, which is long-term value. So when a member comes in, you'll know their LTV. And their LTV is the amount of money they spend when they come in, plus the average number of months that they'll stay, times the month. So let's say, they come in and they stay for 3 months and it's a $37 product. The LTV is, in the ballpark of $100. So now I have my formula of, well, if it costs me $100 to, if each member is worth $100, my question then becomes, well, how much does it cost to acquire each one of these members? Which you can then extrapolate into ads and other things. But once you start knowing your LTV and your average stay time, you can then start thinking about, well, how do I get them to stay longer and therefore increasing their LTV? Or what is the common point when these people are going to leave, and therefore how do I increase their LTV? Or what are the common challenges and how do I increase their LTV? So with a simple membership where it's just one single course, the LTV tends to be a little bit longer because they know exactly what they're coming in for, and then they look at that and that's exactly what they're going to get. And it's easier to extend the LTV and increase retention because it's just simpler and it is what it is. They're in or they're out. Whereas you have more of a library model, you're kind of like, well, where do you want to start? And some people say, I don't want to start anywhere. It is a tricky one. But for most people, I would say if you're planning on a membership, just make a course and then essentially sell that course in installments that is membership recurring payments.
And to make it clear, by course, you mean probably a signature program, not an online course with chapters and lessons, right?
This would be a self-service course. So, an online course.
Okay. So not based around like a live program. It's more of the traditional online course.
Just a traditional online course, yeah. And here's the thing, though, because it's a good question you ask, because this is the trap. If you make it bigger, people's expectations of what they should get from you change a lot, right? So, and again, that's the mistake I made in the first time. I was like, I had this whole course, and I was also doing weekly coaching every single week, and I was talking to people, and it was awesome and fun, and I met some amazing people, but they never paid me any decent money. They didn't go on to do anymore. So I ended up pouring a lot of time and effort and energy into people that actually didn't create much revenue. And actually a lot of those people, because of the small investment mindset that they'd come in on, they weren't really the kind of mindset orientated people that wanted a bigger result anyway. So they weren't really that motivated to actually do something really significant. A lot of people that come into memberships, especially very low ticket memberships, they're just people that kind of just want to find out more about stuff. They're not high performance clients. The $7 people. And there is a difference. The old adage of the more you pay, the more attention you pay. I think there is that old adage of, look, what you need to understand is you're not going to get a ton of people coming into a $7 membership and then going, oh my God, look at these incredible results I'm getting. And obviously as a coach, you want the best possible results for your students. Of course you do, in no matter what format you like. But, we have 300 plus members in Social Boom. How many of those do I expect to go on and do incredible things? Very small percentage. Very small percentage. But what our philosophy is over at Social Boom is all about making social media learning accessible. So we like to share, everything that we know and make it accessible for people. And some people will come in and they'll be like, I'm just here to kind of learn. I'm just here to learn. I'm just here to kind of find out some cool things and see stuff. But there will be a percentage of the people that do come into your membership that then say, I want more from you. And how do I do that? And this is where the actual money of a membership comes in. And this is where I think so many people get this wrong. They think, I'll make a membership and that'll be all the money that I need and that'll be recurring income and so on and so on. It's like, well, look, even if you had a $37 a month membership, you're still going to need hundreds of people in that membership to make a decent living. and those people need to be kept in that membership and retained. And then, of course, you need to be acquiring new people. And it's a lot of work. Like running the Social Boom membership is more work than launching Reels Millionaire 2.0 on a day-to-day basis. It's more work than making a high-ticket program and running a high-ticket program. It's actually more work. Yes, it's recurring income, and it is really good to have no matter how much we fuck up on any given day, we know that we've got some recurring income coming in, right? So, it's good to have that, but all of the work that you put into that membership is going to distract you from stuff that's going to make you a lot more money, like a significant amount more money. And so what you need to do is you need to set the guardrails for your membership so that you have time to focus on the stuff that's going to make you a lot more money. And the stuff that makes us a lot more money is actually the people that come through the membership and then say, this is awesome, Dan, I want to work with you more. And then they buy our higher ticket programs from us. That's where the most money comes in, is the people that we show them the value. They say, oh, this is great, I want to know more. And then we offer them the next step. Those people that invest in the next step are the people that make us the serious money. So the membership is much more about bringing in qualified buyers than it is about making X amount of dollars recurring every single month. Much, much more about that. And you'll make way more money with that mindset because, number one, you won't pour in your heart and soul in every second of your day to try and build up a membership, which is very, very difficult, incredibly difficult to do. And then number two, you'll focus a lot more on the back end of what the members do after they join, instead of constantly worrying about, they spent $7. Do they like it? Is it exactly what they want it to be? Do they get it? Is it as easy as they want it to be? What are the student results? It's like, they paid $7. Or they paid even $37. They paid $37. Okay, it's like at any point they could just message you and get a refund anyway. And it's like, look, they're getting access to like a $1,000 worth of course here. Okay, so if they don't like it, that $37, they still learned a bit. So like you just need to make sure that you're able to control your desire to please versus the investment of the individual. Because as coaches, of course, we have this humongous desire to please, and we can't stop. Well, you have to be happy, and I have to sacrifice my entire life for you because I need your praise, and I need to make sure you're happy. So please take all of my time and energy from me all the time. We're all guilty of that. So it's like, oh, please love me. I have that, right? I'm an extrovert. I like people to tell me I'm awesome. That's fine. But there are times when you have to put that in check and go, this is way too much effort and they simply just haven't invested in that. And the irony is, the more you put into memberships, oftentimes the worse it makes the membership because you overwhelm students. We took a big step back from Social Boom. We were adding new stuff every single week. Goodies and tools and tips and new shit all the time, in an effort to retain members, when actually reduce retention. We find more people left when we were giving them new stuff every week than stuck around. Because actually what happened was, it did two things. Number one, it reminded them they had a subscription over and over again. And, that's not always a good thing, right? There's a reason why Netflix doesn't tell you every single month, oh, I've just billed you another amount of money. Oh, I just billed you another amount of money. It's like, you want people to be aware of their subscription, but you don't want to be constantly reminding them they have a subscription. Yeah, it's a fine balance. So number one, we were constantly reminding them that they were paying money out for something. And then number two, we were giving them so much stuff they couldn't keep track. They got overwhelmed and they were like, well, I guess I've lost track of this thing now and I may as well leave because, the students felt like they were falling behind. So once they feel like they're falling behind, it's like, well, why do I need my subscription? Because I'm falling behind now. So it's detrimental to the membership. So it's such a fine line. And actually for us, stepping back completely, and now we barely add any new content into our portal ever, because there's plenty in there to be getting on with. I mean, you don't need any more. And now what we do and what we found is very few people were actually showing up to the Q&A calls, mainly because probably they weren't, doing the work that was in the portal, right? That's a good indicator of when people aren't doing the work in the portal, is when they're not showing up to the Q&A calls. And actually what we found is most of the people in the membership, they just kind of like wanted to learn. They were kind of like, I just want to kind of learn a bit. So they were really, really showing up to our masterclasses. So they loved our fortnightly masterclasses. So, we used to do like a Q&A call and a Nail Your Niche workshop every fortnight and then a masterclass. every fortnight, right? So we had like 3 calls and we were like, we'll just take the Q&A call out. And no one has complained. You do a lot of testing. But we also do a quarterly and 6 monthly survey, because one of the other areas that I think takes a lot of energy from coaches, and many coaches make a mistake in this, and I have been exceptionally guilty at this mistake, is the community side of memberships. So, where do I put my community? Is it a Facebook group? Is it Slack? Is it, Telegram? Kajabi's got communities right now. Let's use Kajabi. Yay. It's like everything's got everywhere and everything. And it's like, it's very overwhelming for a coach to make that choice, first and foremost. And of course, as a person that is always desperate to please, we put a lot of time and energy into wanting our members to get great results, which means we put a lot of time and energy into our communities, or our DMs, or our student support, and so on and so on and so on, which quickly becomes out of hand, as you've probably experienced yourself. It's just like, this is way too much. So one thing that I learned, so when I first started Social Boom, we were on Kajabi, and then what did I have? I had a community on Instagram DMs. I had an Instagram chat group when we first started it. Then I kind of moved the community out into a private Instagram account. That did not work. Then I tried Mighty Networks. That did not work. Then I tried Slack. Didn't work. Telegram got way out of hand. You know what Telegram's like. Million people, relentless conversations everywhere. And then we finally, Travis just told me to use Facebook groups, and he was absolutely right. Just use a Facebook group, Dan. I was like, yeah, but, and I'm like, yeah, but. He's like, no, we're just using a Facebook group. Okay. Thank you for making that decision for me, Travis. So I was spiraling into a massive black hole of indecision, which frustrates me because I'm generally a decisive person. So when I have something I can't decide on, I get very frustrated. So, and again, what I learned on the community side is, again, number one, the more you make yourself available, the less money people will spend with you. And this is, I cannot stress that enough. So in the early days of Social Boom, when we were doing weekly Q&As, there were group coaching, there were Zoom calls, no one wanted to buy the high-ticket product. No one wanted to buy it. Why would you? They're getting me on a group call every single week. Why bother? And then, when it was in the DMs and I was constantly reachable in the DMs, no one wanted to invest in me further. When I was in Telegram, they already had me one-to-one in Telegram. They had voice notes from me. I was talking in there. Don't get me wrong, it was super fun. I loved that community. It was really high energy. But it absolutely stifled the business completely, because I was just too available. Anyone could reach me anytime. They could DM me anytime. It created absolutely no desire to invest in me further, because they already had me. Why would they invest in me further? But as a coach, it's difficult to resolve those two worlds, because as a coach, we want to be attracting people to us. And, we want to be putting our time and energy into our students and helping them out as much as possible. But it creates this massive problem that will completely stifle your growth as a business and your sales. We want to make a big impact. Of course, I want to be there for as many people as I possibly can, and I always do, and I always want to be made available. But the more distance you create between you and your student, the more money you will make, as the students that do want to invest in you and get closer to you pay you more money to get closer to you. Just last night, I was messaging Travis, because we were like, well, what are we going to do for Reels Millionaire 2.0 in terms of support? And we were like, we could do weekly Zoom calls. And we kind of had that conversation. Like, yeah, but, if we do weekly Zoom calls, they already have us. They already have us coaching them. So we're going to do Q&A calls, and they're going to be live streamed, and you won't be able to talk to us. You will not be able to talk to us. So Reels Millionaire is going to sell for $14.97. And with a $14.97 investment, it's just not enough money for you to have us in group coaching. It's not enough money. Now, some of you might say, oh, Dan, I feel like that is a lot of money. And you're right, as a one-off number, it is a lot of money. $14.97 is, of course, a lot of money. But if you do group coaching calls with that, and essentially just do, a live Zoom and bring everybody in, essentially they're paying you $14.97 for a lifetime of coaching, because it's a one-time product, right? So assuming they get lifetime access to this product, if you then commit to open Zoom calls with group coaching, essentially they get lifetime coaching from you. So that tiny decision has a massive back-end impact. And that's when you can really fuck things up. Because now, and again, by doing that, you remove all the desire. So, because we're going to do a mastermind for Reels Millionaire 2.0 as well. So we were saying, well, okay, what would the mastermind look like? Obviously, the mastermind would look like weekly Zoom calls where we kind of like pull specific things out. If the people that bought the course one time, if they get Zoom group calls, What's the difference between the course and the mastermind? Sure, there are fewer people on the line, but in terms of access to us, it's the same. So now, why would there be any motive for the people that bought the one-time course to invest in the mastermind, which is going to be more like, $1,000 a month, right? Why would there be any motive for those people to actually invest in it when they essentially get the same amount of access with the one-time course? There is no motive to do that.
So do you sort of couple those together? Like, is it one after the other? Like, how do you transition? How do you upsell?
Yeah, well, that will be the thing, is because for the one-time people, they only get the live stream of us. They're going to feel like, they're going to be typing in their questions and writing in their questions, and we're going to be answering those questions, helping them out as they type them in. But it's going to create that FOMO with them. They're going to want to be closer. They're going to be like, I wish I could just talk to Dan directly. You can by investing in the mastermind, right? Whereas if I talk to them directly anyway and I just gave them that thing, then there's no desire. There's no FOMO. They're already getting the highest level of me that they can, with the exception of being one-to-one. They're getting basically the highest level of me as they could get.
Super interesting. And I know now we mentioned some elements, but can we put together the sort of structure of what you think would make a good membership, or like a membership that would work? We mentioned some of them, but like, how would that look like from the outside, like the big picture?
Yes,
what
exactly.
do we need to have?
Yes, exactly. And this is the quite literal $1 million question, right? So you're like, well, Dan, I've talked a lot about all these considerations. So what is the right model? Well, of course, I will caveat this to say there is no right and wrong model for a membership, of course. But at the same time, I believe there is a right model for a membership, and this is what I think you should do. Okay, in theory, you can do anything you want, guys. Okay, everybody's free to do whatever you want, okay? But I'm going to tell you, this is what you should do, okay? So what I think, and what we've seen to work and what works the best for us, firstly, is you have a mini membership. So you have a $7 membership, which is essentially a mini course or a 497 sized course with one specific result that is achievable as possible. It's not doesn't have to be a huge result, but it's just relatively achievable. So for us, the $7 membership is 0 to 10,000 followers, right? It's like a Kickstarter social media thing. It's like how to get to 10K, and you pay $7 a month for it, and you get loads of awesome stuff in it, and it's great. People love it. Yeah, so that way, the cost of acquisition goes down way much. It goes way down, because $7 is quite easy to convince someone to part with as a recurring subscription. $27 is really, really difficult to convince someone to part with up front when they don't know you. It's very, very difficult. It's particularly difficult in ads. Trying to go from stranger to $27 recurring investment is incredibly difficult and incredibly costly with ads. Very, very difficult, because they don't know you. In fact, it's actually easier to get someone to buy a one-time 497 course in ads than it is to get someone to invest in a 27 recurring. It's easier to get them to spend 10, 20 times more than that number one time than it is recurring, because people just don't like subscriptions. They don't want more subscription because they know they're going to forget about it, and then they know that it's going to be one more thing. So my recommendation is you start off with, for all intents and purposes, a smaller membership, which is at $7, and then they can invest in a larger membership, which is more like $27, $37 a month for the next step. So in our case, the small membership, $7, is how to grow on social, how to go to 0 to 10,000 followers. And then the next step is how to monetize naturally. The next evolution of the membership is, well, what do I do with that? So, and that's the 27 or 37. And then they will upgrade into that by themselves through your portal. So you bring them in cheap, show them your world, show them you can do what you do, show them you're the real thing. Because we are in a time of a very, very low level of trust. I mean, people are literally being bombarded with offers all day, and those offers are completely contradictory. You scroll through your feed, and one guy's like going, how to make $10,000 with just DMs. And then the next guy's going, stop using DMs to make money. They're literally contradictory offers in your feed. It's overwhelming, and so trust is very low. So by having a mini membership, it's like tiny investment, and then they make it, and then you prove to them that you're actually the real deal, and then they go, oh, you know what, actually I think this guy's really good. Well, what else he's got? And then they'll invest in another membership. But importantly, of course, with those memberships, those two memberships run in parallel for the consumer. So they could cancel the higher one and still be on the lower one, and you're still making money. Or they could cancel the lower one and still be on the higher one and you're still making money. So essentially now they're part of two memberships, which then increases the overall LTV of the person, because now they've got two memberships running. And unless they cancel both, you're still making money. So now you've got these two parallel memberships running along. And now it's much easier to acquire and then evolve people into those new things. What you also do with the people that want to invest in the higher ticket membership is you have a very, very different change in intent for those people. So there will be lots of people that will sit in your $7 membership forever and never ever give you any more money. And that's cool. And fair play to them. And, you wish them the best. Okay. But the people that upgrade into a high ticket membership, they're sending those buying signals to say, I'm of an appetite of investing further. So those people then become way more receptive to high ticket offers. So at the low end, people in the $7 membership, they're going to respond to courses and upgrades in the $497, maybe up to $997 kind of ballpark. Right, so you can then offer them, additional stuff, templates, resources, courses, whatever you've got going on that are going to continue to expand whatever the thing is that they're doing. And then for the people that upgrade into your higher level membership, then you'd be throwing high ticket at them. And then you'd be talking more in the sort of the courses that are minimum of 1,500 and then moving into the 3K, 5K kind of ballpark for the high ticket stuff in that. So you kind of create this upgrade environment. And then, of course, the big money comes out of the upgrade environment, right? That's where the big money comes in. So let's say you've got 100 students, they're all paying $7, it's going to be a lot of work to get 100 $7 students. That's $700 a month. That is not a lot of money. Okay, you could do a brand deal and get that in 2 seconds. There's not a lot of money, okay? Which is why, in order to be able to increase the long-term value of your customer, you need to be selling them stuff and upgrading them into something else later. Trying to think, I can create a life-sipping Mai Tais on the beach with a $7 membership is crazy. It just doesn't happen. Just imagine how many members you would need. Even if you had 1,000 members, you would still only be making $7K a month, which is not, in the big scheme of things, that is not a lot of money to live off. And you might say, $7K, Dan, that's a lot of money. It's like, yeah, but, that's $7K gross, not $7K profit. You've got all of the business to run on side of that. You're probably going to be walking away with $5K of that. And then suddenly it's kind of like, it's a bit meh, really, isn't it? So, you really have to be focusing on, assuming I'm creating a membership, and assuming the value comes out of the upgrade environment, then I need to design my membership in a way that promotes people moving through that upgrade environment, i.e. not giving away all my time and energy to $7 people and allowing them complete access to me and to DM me and to do whatever, because then I'm killing all the desire and the motivation for that person to upgrade. And so what that's going to do is going to keep me with almost no money, constantly fighting acquisition versus retention and, never being able to scale. So instead, you're going to be like, assuming I'm building, I'm assuming I'm building a membership here. I'm going to help as many people as I can, and then I have an upgrade environment in the back end. What do I need to put in place in order to be able to motivate people to go through that upgrade environment? That's how you make the money. And then the membership becomes, obviously a membership is impact. Obviously it's there to help people. Obviously you're giving people access to stuff, and that's awesome, and you're an awesome person for doing that. But from a business perspective, what you need to understand is it's got to go somewhere, and it's got to go somewhere into much, much higher revenue potential. It can't just be that. Later on, when you start making some serious money, you could potentially take the upgrade environment out and then, use that money to then scale the membership in ads. And then the membership will have enough people in it to actually allow you to then step back and then go, my membership is my whole life now, and that's making enough money. But ads cost a lot of money on the front end. They cost a lot of money in ads under management if you're getting someone to run them for you. And they cost a lot of money in, testing. And of course, ads, when it comes to ad acquisition, oftentimes you're going to lose money on the front end. So if I'm trying to get people into my $7 memberships, we've run ads for this, it's probably going to cost me $40, $50 for every $7 member. So even if that $7 member stays for 6 months, you're talking $42. That's a loss. So I'm making a front end $8 loss on that person. So unless I have an upgrade environment in the back end that's going to get me my money back, I'm going to take a loss here. And it's the same for more expensive memberships. If you go in ads and try and get someone to come into a $27 a month membership through ads, you're going to end up spending $80 to $100 for every person. And that's assuming you give them some kind of, trial at the beginning, which is more like a $7 trial, and then it upgrades into 27. So of course, not everyone's going to make it through the trial and upgrade into 27. So, you're going to lose money. Whenever you try and scale a membership, you are going to lose money on the front end, which means you have to have an upgrade environment in the back end if you want to scale it. It's not just, how to make money. It's also, if you want to grow your membership, membership, you have to have an upgrade environment. You have to, because it's not going to scale otherwise. And then, of course, if you're not running ads, then the growth of that membership is always going to be stuck by your organic growth. So unless you're growing massively, 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 and massively fast, the scale of your membership is always going to be limited by the scale of your growth. So which means that your membership is going to it's going to hit a ceiling very quickly. It's going to only pay you out a certain amount of money, despite you putting a huge amount of effort into it. And then the effort doesn't equal the reward. The way memberships really pay off is when you have, number one, an upgrade environment that makes you a lot more money. And then number two, in so many members that the amount of effort that you put in does come out profitably. Whereas in the early days, it won't. You'll put in tons of effort into your membership and, you just won't have enough members. Even if you had $107 members, it's $700 worth of effort. That's, let's say you're bringing on a one-to-one client for $1,500 a month. That's 2 hours worth of work, right? I can guarantee you're going to be putting in a hell of a lot more than 2 hours worth of work in your membership every month. So you see what I mean? Like you have to think about how it all extrapolates. There's a lot more going on than just, recurring revenue.
It's a game changer what you're saying. Like this idea of business mindset, long-term value. It's like you have to put all of these pieces of the puzzle together in order to make it work. And it's just great because I feel like you're saving people so much energy, time, and money by everything that you're saying here. So that's incredible. But before we end this, I really want to know two things. First of all, what are those elements that we should include in our membership in terms of, you said resources, course, maybe weekly Q&A, like how does that look? And is it different from the $7 to the $27 membership?
Yes. Well, I do want to footer all of this to say, I run a membership. I love memberships. Okay, so what I don't want to do is put people off and go, well, this doesn't sound like a good idea. They're awesome. Well, they are awesome to do. And, if you're good at them and you want to build a community, they are awesome. But, you do need to go in eyes wide open. And I didn't. And that's why I'm saying all the things I'm saying today is because when I started had I known all of the stuff that I know now, I would have done it very, very differently. And to be honest, I probably have about $200,000 more in the bank because I've been running my membership for a couple of years, and had we been doing it in this way right from the start, it would have been an absolute eons worth of difference. So that's worth considering. But like I said, let's say you are putting your membership in place. Like I said, start off really, really small. Nice, easy $7 thing. Make a small course that's about $497 worth of it. Make it with a specific outcome that someone can invest in. Then create a upgrade environment course, which is more in the $27 to $37 range, and then have that as the next level of whatever they just did. So either it could be step 2 of their journey. So for us, step 1 is get followers. Step 2 is make money. Or it could be the scale edition of their journey. So maybe the $7 membership is how to close, 5K a month. And then the more expensive membership is more about, how to scale to 30K a month. So it's either step 1, step 2, or scale, one of the two.
And in terms of resources and maybe access to community or weekly calls, like what about those like specific components?
So resources-wise, you've already got the course inside. Give them any resources that are necessary in order to be able to complete that course. Do not give them any additional resources otherwise, because you're just going to distract them. It's going to make their life harder. That doesn't mean what you can do, of course, is you could do like a fortnightly bonus or a monthly bonus where you add in something that makes a step in your course even easier, like a bonus or a template or something like that. Just be very mindful of the volume of stuff that you give out and, of course, the volume of stuff that you commit to. Again, when we were running Social Boom, we're like, we're going to give you a bonus resource every week. Now we're having to make a bonus resource every week. And, we would look at our analytics and go like, no one's using this. Like we spent hours making this every week. No one's even using it. No one's downloading it or anything. You always got to look at the effort versus reward. So keep the resources, just comprehensive for the course that you have inside, and then focus on the students. And then when I say focus on the student, a weekly Q&A call, live stream works. What we do, and we've kept it going because it is such a game changer and it's such a good sales vehicle. We're Nail Your Niche workshop. So what we find is every person that comes in who wants to grow their following doesn't know what content to create or what their niche is. Naturally, none of us do when we start. So we have a Nail Your Niche workshop, which we run fortnightly, where we help map that out for people. And but it blows people's minds so much because it's been refined so many times. It blows people's minds so much that they often go straight from, even being on a $1 trial commitment straight into, booked appointment and high tickets. because of that work. So we like to start that because, number one, it puts all the students on the very best footing to get results from whatever they've invested. And then number two, it also converts into higher ticket. If you do put additional stuff more than, say, a weekly call or a fortnightly masterclass, if you do something like that, just make sure it's a sales vehicle. Again, we do our fortnightly masterclasses because, number one, people actually show up to them. That's why we drop the Q&A call. But number two, we book appointments in all day long for high ticket. So, they work. And that's it. That's literally all you need.
What about community or like the access that they have to you one-on-one, like DMs, like what about these things?
I don't recommend DMs. In the early days, it can be good to give people DM access to you. It can, because you're going to learn a lot about the students and it's going to help you iterate the course you have inside the portal. Look, it's good to have access to those guys, but committing to that up front for, even a $37 a month investment, is going to kill you. So it's up to you. I don't recommend it.
And community, like a Facebook group, yes or no?
Facebook groups are absolutely fine. They work so well. And, they also help scale because people, you can attract people into free editions of your Facebook group, which then sell into paid membership. Facebook as a sales environment, there is no other environment like that. Yeah, you could say, well, yeah, but it's noisy. And, I'd rather have people in my own little community where we all talk to each other and there's no noise and everyone hangs out together. And here's the reality. They don't hang out. In fact, they don't even bother to go there because they don't want to be using an additional app. They're not on. We do a survey every quarter and half yearly. We do a survey, and in every one of those surveys, we ask people, what community would you like Social Boom to be? And we get a little pie chart of the result. And every time, the pie chart has about 20 different equal segments, and no one can agree. We survey our students every quarter, and they've never, ever agreed on where they want to. And, it just spreads over. Because it's like, some people are like, oh, yeah, well, I like Kajabi, or I like Slack, or I like WhatsApp, or I like Telegram, or I like Facebook group. Oh, well, I don't like Facebook group. Well, I don't like Slack. Well, I don't like WhatsApp. Well, I don't like Telegram. They're not going to be anywhere. And one thing that I've learned when it comes to communities is if you choose a bespoke platform to put your community, functionally, you might get some great, but whether people will actually ever load that and engage on that is a completely different story. And what I know about Facebook is they load Facebook almost every day. They load it almost every day. So they're there, right? So you have an opportunity to reach them because they're, whereas on other platforms, what is the probability, let's say you put your community on Slack. What is the probability of actually loading Slack every day and saying, I want to engage in your community too? This is a $7 member you're talking about. They're not as motivated as you think they are. Just because you're motivated doesn't mean that they're motivated in the same way. Just make it in a way that, just establish where you are. And then let the motivated people. A lot of memberships I've seen, and I've worked with a lot of people in a lot of memberships don't have any community. Some of the really big memberships, and I'm talking memberships with 30, 40,000 people in zero community. They just do Q&A. So you're not even obligated to have a community. You don't have to if you don't need.
And Dan, very important question. Can we make a membership successful with no followers / a small audience? Is that something we should consider when we don't really have a big following, memberships?
It's certainly going to take a lot of time and energy and effort from you. Can you make it successful? Yes, you can. But what you have to appreciate is to make it successful, you're going to need to put yourself in front of more people, i.e. you're going to get more reach. Right, in order to be able to scale this, in order to be able to scale anything, you have to be in front of more people. That's how you scale. So if you want to grow this thing to a big amount, but you are not in front of very many people every day, it's just not going to happen. Naturally, how could it happen? This is why I'm so obsessed with growing followers. I'm not obsessed with growing followers for vanity at all. I don't give a shit about vanity. And as you know, I hate the word influencer and never ever refer to myself in that term and correct anyone that refers to me in that term because I hate it. It's not about that. It's just about prospecting as a business. I have 100,000 followers. You have 100. I will make more money than you because I am prospecting. Okay, assuming that we're doing the same business strategy, I have more prospects than you do, which means that I have the opportunity to make more money. Okay, assuming we're running the same business strategy. Obviously, different business strategies are differently profitable. But in that, based on that assumption, you should have more followers. Why would you not want more followers? Why would you not want more prospects? Someone said to me, like, Dan, you don't need more followers to make more money. And I'm like, you're right, you don't. But if you're good at making money, why would you not want more followers? So that assumption, when people say you don't need more followers to make more money, that is based on the assumption that you are bad at making money, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, well, I know these guys who've got 50,000 followers and they're completely broke. And those people do exist. Those people absolutely exist because they're bad at making money. But assuming you're good at making money, then surely more followers is more money, right? So it's based on the assumption of being bad. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. If you're really good at making money and I'm terrible at making money, then I could have 50,000 followers and be broke and you could have 1,000 followers and be rich. Absolutely true. But assuming we are equally good at making money, I will make more money based on that assumption. So, build them out. So do I think memberships are a good thing to do for someone who's got a really small amount of followers? It's a good way to learn. Just don't expect it to put you on a beach with Mai Tais. That's all. It's a good way to learn, but it's not going to make you a lot of money. You're going to have to network and get yourself out there and meet a lot of people. Assuming you are in a growth mindset, when I say growth, I mean follower growth and audience growth. Assuming you are in a growth mindset, then yes, creating a membership could be really good for you because you're going to be meeting new people and bringing new people in. But if you just have 100 followers and you don't really have a plan to scale your account or get more followers or run ads or do anything that's going to put you in front of new audiences, all it's going to do is it's going to make you almost no money whatsoever and take a ton of time from you every single week. It's not going to be a particularly profitable thing to do. You'd make more money with one course sale a month than you would with your memberships. So something to consider. Love that. My membership when I had about 3,000 followers, and I'm glad I did. I've learned a lot. But had I started it later on, it would be bigger than it is now. Bigger impact and a bigger launch and a bigger thing. Follow what's in your heart, everybody. As always, follow what's in your heart. Do what you think is right. Importantly, you don't have to do anything just for the money. Obviously, I'm talking a lot about money today. Obviously, you can do these things just because you want to, okay? It doesn't have to be for the money. So assuming you're going eyes wide open, you're like, well, I just want 50 people that are paying me $17 a month. I know that's not going to make a lot of money, but I think it'd be a really cool thing to do and it'd be good to learn from. Do it. Go do it. But if you're thinking, running a membership is going to make me a ton of recurring revenue, and surely it's so much easier than doing high ticket coaching, or surely it's easier than selling courses, and it really isn't, and it really won't. It's so much easier to sell. Like if we sell one Reels Millionaire student, group coaching student, that's $5,000, right? That's hundreds and hundreds of students in a membership that I'd be having to look after for one sale a month, and those hundreds and hundreds of students are going to take more of my time every month than just the one Reels Millionaire student. And something that we didn't talk about that I do also think is worth talking about is you also need to deal with fulfillment when it comes to memberships. So you get people, forgetting about their just subscription and then emailing you all in a fluff going, blah, 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 you charge me, blah, 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 and they could cancel it themselves in the portal. You get people not canceling. You get a whole bunch of customer service stuff that you have to do. You get questions about how things operate and so on and so on. So there's also a customer service commitment to this, and there is a bit of a motivational element to this. So, every few days, I see people canceling their subscription, right? I see it in the metrics, right? Motivationally, that can be quite hard to deal with. I, over the years, have, gone through different phases of how I've managed to deal with that motivationally, especially when you put time and effort into people and then they cancel. There is an emotional side to memberships. Yes, there's the getting more people and that's exciting, but you also have to watch people cancel, and you also have to deal with, people that, someone who invests in you for $7, I can guarantee you will cause you more trouble than someone who spends $5,000 on you. The fulfillment side of memberships can be very frustrating and annoying and sometimes confrontational. You will get members going, oh my God, I've been being charged this the whole time. I didn't know I had the subscription, etc., etc., etc. And of course you did. You signed up to it. There was the landing page. It's been going the whole time. You've had all the emails. You absolutely know that it's been happening. You can't ever say, oh, I didn't know I had it, And then, they lodge disputes. So suddenly now I've got a Stripe dispute going. So, either I want to get a lawyer in and deal with this Stripe dispute, or I just give them the money back because I don't give a shit. For me, I just give them the money back and I'm not going to get into dispute with you. I don't care. It's $37. Have your money back. But they lodge dispute, which means that you then start getting emails from Stripe about the disputes that are getting lodged on the membership. So it's really not anywhere near as simple as that. And then of course if you want to VA that out, which you totally can, well suddenly now you're paying $400-500 a month in VA. So if you have 100 members at $700 a month, 500 of that is just your VA. you know what I mean? It's like, it's so much more complicated than earn recurring revenue with no effort. It's like, it really isn't. It really, really isn't. So it's just something to consider. But, you know, like I say, do you, everybody. You do you. You find your way. You know, I think over time, having a membership is an awesome way to supplement your business. It creates an awesome upgrade environment and, you know, it brings in a lot of qualified buyers. You know, you just need to be mindful of the commitment that you make to that product based on how much it costs. If someone bought a $37 ebook from you, would you then start offering them group coaching for free? Well, that's no, obviously, but that's what's happening in the membership. So there you go. So that turned into a big conversation, didn't it?
That was gold. That was gold. And conclusion, know your numbers, peeps. Do your math.
Know your numbers. Like everything in business, manage your expectations. You know, I think, I know that sounds kind of dry and, you know, boring, but especially when you make a commitment to something like a membership, you're talking, you know, you are making a commitment to people for a long time. It's not a small commitment. You could close that membership down at any time, but, you know, if you're going to bring in people into a membership and they're going to invest money in you, you can't just bottle out and go, oh shit, I made the wrong call here. You know, you're talking a 6-month, year commitment, you know, in that decision. Most people's memberships fail. Just like most people's businesses fail. 8 out of 10 new businesses fail, statistically. You know, so, and that's because the people that run those businesses came in with the wrong expectations. They do not come in eyes wide open. And when I say manage expectations, I mean both in terms of what you think this thing's going to give you, but also your own capabilities. Like, do you really think you've got it? If you've got what it takes, you've got to step up to the plate, do it, you know. But if you like, I see so many people starting new businesses, I'm like, I just don't see this. I just don't see this in you. I don't see the entrepreneurial spirit in you. I don't see the key capabilities in you. I don't see them. You can acquire them, but that's the capability. The capability being a growth mindset, a learning mindset. That's capability. If I don't see a learning mindset or a growth mindset in someone, and they say, yeah, I want to go off and start medicine, you know, be financially free, I'm like, well, something's going to need us. I don't see it. Not with that attitude. You see it all the time. You see students that just, you know, they're just not willing to grow. They're not willing to learn. They won't expand their knowledge. They won't take a risk. They won't take a chance. And they're like, well, I want this thing. And like, well, something's going to need to shift in you to be able to make that happen. So, you know, it's absolutely fine. None of us are bulletproof. I'm crap at loads of things. You know, I'm terrible at organization and scheduling, which is why I outsource all of it, because I'm crap at it and I hate it, you know. But I know that's a bad capability. I know that's a weak side to me. I know it's a poor capability. So I don't try and get around trying to be good at it. I just outsource it and go, well, I'm shit at this and I have no intention to get better at it and I hate it. It's not what I'm naturally good at. So I just kind of outsource it. Again, manage your expectations. You've got to be eyes wide open. You've got to know who you are and what you do and what you're good at and what you're not good at. If you don't like growing an audience, if you don't like getting in front of new people, well, a membership is probably a bad product for you to consider, because it takes constant acquisition. You know, it's people are like, oh yeah, but with the membership you don't have to keep selling stuff, you don't have to keep going through live launches and campaigns. Are like, of course you do. Membership is constant acquisition all the time. Everywhere you go, you're going to be talking about that membership. Everywhere you go, if you can't get that, if you can't understand that a membership is constant acquisition, unless you're scaling with ads, someone's got to acquire these members. They will attrite themselves out of the membership naturally. Your membership numbers will only go down over time. People aren't going to stick around forever. So who's going to do the acquisitions, get the new members in? If you're like, well, I don't really want to do that. I don't want to be doing the work. I just thought this was a recurring income and I could just sit back and get recurring income. You're like, well, of course you can't. Those members will attrite. They will leave over time. They're not going to stick around forever. Who's gaining the new members? It's clearly not something that takes no effort and just creates recurring income. That's a lot of effort to maintain the 300 people in social media. It's taking a lot of members just to keep the number the same, you know, and that's true. So just go in eyes wide open.
And let me summarize this conversation in 3 simple steps. Check this out. Number 1, self-assessment, self-awareness. Number 2, business mindset. Number 3, get yourself a coach. Look how much we can learn, like, just by listening to you, 1-hour conversation. Now I feel like it saved months, if not years, of like hustle. Like, it's just so useful to get someone to really guide you with this, I think.
Well, that's what we love. That's what we do. So look, thank you so much for your time. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be releasing every Wednesday, so make sure to
subscribe
and rate us 5 stars where you're listening to this show to give others a chance to discover it too.